Alright, the Anthony Joshua fight on August the 12th. Against who, as of yet, we don't know. But we are hearing names and we are seeing fighters put forward their names almost by the day now, it seems. And obviously this is stemming from the fact that Dillian Whyte was the preferred opponent. Eddie Hearn even said that he was the preferred opponent. He priced himself out, let's be frank. If the rumours that we're hearing about him requesting 10 million to fight Anthony Joshua are true, he's priced himself out. He doesn't want to fight. It's as simple as that. He doesn't want to fight Anthony Joshua. Simple as, right? So we're hearing names, and obviously Eddie Hearn alluded to the fact that he had two opponents lined up just in case, because obviously promoters always do that. They can't just rely on having blind faith that this is the fight that's going to happen, and if it doesn't happen, oh, we're screwed. A lot of the times they will have, unless it's a mandatory or something like that, more often than not, if it's just a fight like this, they'll have opponents lined up. Well, one of the people, the Sun here reporting, and they're taking this off Sky Sports, they're reporting on as an opponent who was offered his services to be Anthony Joshua's opponent on August the 12th is none other than he was meant to be an opponent of Anthony Joshua, but he effed that up, JARRELL Big Farmer Miller. I'll quote the Sun article here. JARRELL Miller is to be offered as an opponent for Anthony Joshua after talks of the Dillian Whyte rematch collapsed. Joshua and Whyte were in negotiations for a fight on August the 12th, but Eddie Hearn has come out to say the deal has now broken down. So promoter Dimitri Salida will put forward shamed heavyweight JARRELL Miller 34 as an alternative for Anthony Joshua, according to Sky Sports. The American blew his chances to challenge for AJ's heavyweight titles in 2019 following a disgraceful drug scandal. Miller blamed the failed test on tainted substance and stem cell shots in his elbow. Right, well, does that explain the other times he's failed? He then received a contract with Bob Arum, but tested positive yet again for a banned substance. I remember this excuse, actually. This is right up there with the Conor Benn ones. He blamed it on, wait for this, Viagra, and got a 2-year ban from that. So let's see what else we have here in the article. It says after talks with Dillian Whyte were KO'd, Hearn named European champion. I think he might even... No, I don't think he is anymore. No, he's not European champion anymore. Named former European champion, I should say there. Cabal as a potential opponent, but not Miller. He told Boxing Social, Cabal may be on the long list. Anyone in the top 15, I don't mind, to be honest. AJ going to fight Deontay Wilder in December. That's, of course, 100% focus, and it's difficult to fight an elite top 3 or 5 guy when you're fighting Deontay Wilder 4 months later. So that's the whole article in a nutshell. The Miller-Joshua fight in 2019, if you were watching the channel at the time, which you probably weren't because I only had a couple of hundred subs at the time, I was excited about that fight. The build-up was looking entertaining. Interestingly, and it's a piece of boxing lost media, we've never seen the Joshua versus Whyte gloves are off. Isn't that interesting? We never seen the Joshua versus Miller gloves are off. We never seen that. And they've never released. We know it exists, but we've never got a chance to see it. I'd love to see it. Even now, 4 years later, just to see. I reckon there was accusations getting chucked around in that. And for whatever reason, I don't know the ins and outs, but for whatever reason, they've never made it public. It's a strange one, because that's one of those you just go back. Even now, if they released it on Sky or whatever, you just watch it because you just want to know what was said in it. It's a real interesting one. But in terms of the fight in 2019, I thought it would have been an interesting fight. How AJ looked on that night in Madison Square Garden, there's a good chance JARRELL Miller, obviously if he was popped, and we know that, but there's a good chance I think he would have came in and maybe pulled off the upset. You know, you can only speculate, but I think there was a good chance. In terms of now, I mean, obviously his last fight against Lucas Brown, he didn't look particularly good. He still definitely has a lot of energy, Big Farmer Miller, but how much testing do you really think went on? I think that fight was in Dubai. How much testing do you really think went on for both guys? Because both guys have a history of it, Miller and Brown. So Miller's still looking to have energy, still as big as ever, but there's always going to be that question mark over him. And I've no doubt if they put this fight on, that it probably would do. Probably people would tune in, especially they wouldn't probably release the gloves up, but they'd probably run back the fact that Miller blew his chance and stuff like that. But it's not even just the fact that Miller's dangerous. I don't know if he's as dangerous now as he was then, especially if he's clean now. But for Eddie Hearn, from a PR point of view, he would be absolutely mental from a PR point of view to put Joshua in there with Jarrell Miller. Not for Joshua's sake, but for his own sake. Eddie Hearn, going back to before Quinn Canelo was with Golden Boy, coming out in interviews saying, I won't work with drug cheats and drug cheats should be banned. And what does he do? He goes and starts working with drug cheats. I mean, look at the way he's behaved during this whole Conor Benn situation. I mean, that just goes to show that Eddie Hearn, when he was virtue signalling, and Tony Bellew as well, about, drug cheats should be banned for life. Yeah, that was just for show. Now, Eddie Hearn behaved, in my opinion, appallingly the whole way through this Conor Benn debacle. To go and then put Joshua in there with Big Farmer Miller after everything, I think that really would, from a PR point of view, look horrific if he did that. Now, I'm sure Eddie Hearn might, push it under the rug and say, he's clean now and this is payback, for Joshua. Joshua's going to give him payback. Maybe he'd say something like that, I don't know. But I just think from a PR point of view, they just wouldn't go down that road. It would just look so bad on Eddie Hearn if he did. But Joshua, I don't really recall him ever mentioning drug cheats and stuff like that. But for Hearn, I think more so would look bad on him. In terms of Cabal, look, Joshua would beat Cabal fairly easily, in my opinion. But AJ Cabal is just, his style is absolutely horrific to watch. It really is. It's so boring. He really had that one fight with Chisora, 6 years ago now? 5 years ago now, because it was in the end of 2017, so a little over 5 years ago. And that fight was as dull as anything. And he's done literally nothing since then. I mean, he's been literally fighting once a year against whoever. I think Rudenko was the only name I recognise over the last couple of years who he's fought. And I really just... Joshua versus Cabal is just... I would be amazed if they stuck that on pay-per-view. I would, because who the hell is AJ Cabal? At least with Franklin, people had seen him in there against Dylan White prior to that and give a good account of himself. So people were kind of familiar enough with him. But your claim to fame is you beat Derek Chisora for a European title 5.5 years ago. That's not going to really sell with the public, I don't think. And the fight itself, I mean, Joshua's more the boxer puncher now. Cabal, I just don't see that fight being particularly entertaining. I really see that fight as being... You got to think of it like this, right? They are trying to rebuild Joshua, and I get fights like these are rebuilding fights, they are, and I'll be picking Joshua over AJ Cabal every single time. But at the same time, you still want Joshua you want to try and rebuild that fan base. You want to sell Joshua back the way you used to, as a destructive kind of puncher. Obviously, I know he's more a boxer puncher now than he was back then, but nevertheless, you could still get some of these big bang performances against someone like Cabal. I'm just going to be frank, I reckon that fight would be very, very dull the whole way through. Probably would even go to points. And I don't think that Joshua can afford another long, drawn-out points decision, especially someone against Cabal who can be negative. It just doesn't bode for compelling viewing. And I just worry that might hinder Joshua, not necessarily in his comeback or mentally, but just to the fans. It's like, we've watched Joshua twice now, and each fight has been just as boring as the other. Not for me anymore. And I think that's already happened. When I go out, people would know, they wouldn't know I do the channel, but people around Ireland wouldn't know I do the channel, but they'd know I'm into boxing. They'd be asked about Joshua, and they're like, I can't really watch Joshua anymore. And it's like, yeah, it's not the easiest. He's definitely not as destructive as he used to be, and stuff like that. And you see that even with the casual. They're like, I miss Joshua going in and just knocking guys out. And if you got him in there against someone like a Dylan White or a Gerald Washington, you probably would have a destructive performance. But against someone like Cabal, I just see that being a long, drawn-out affair. Now, against Miller, that'd be interesting. Again, I think, people know my stance on Miller. I think he's a complete scumbag. He's a pathological liar. He's awful. Horrible man. And the fact of the matter is, he's the kind of guy who'd go around accusing everyone else of doing the thing that he then does. Like he did to Anthony Joshua. So, horrible man. However, if you talk about it from a purely entertainment point of view, I could see how that fight would be very entertaining. I could see how that fight could catch fire pretty quick. So in terms of entertainment value, you would say that Miller is the better option, but I can't see, for a variety of reasons. I don't think he's ranked in the top 15 of anywhere yet. I think from a PR point of view, Eddie Hearn just wouldn't go down that road. And maybe they might view it as a bit more risky, you know, the fact that he can set a ferocious pace still, that he is tough, he takes a good shot, and that maybe they'd be just worried with Joshua, knowing the fact that they have a Deontay Wilder fight more than likely lined up in the winter. So let's watch the space. Obviously, Fury's been teasing an announcement. We'll see what happens there. But August the 12th, the longer we leave this, the less time we have for marketing. So if they are planning on going out on August the 12th and having a fight, they're going to want to get a move on. And that's what I got to say there. They're going to want to get a move on, because you're going to want to market this fight as best you can. If you're doing it with someone like Cabal, who none of the casuals know, that's going to be a bit of a harder sell. Well, it's a hard sell anyway, but it's going to be even harder. So that's my thoughts on this. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed the video, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. For now, lads and lassies, I'll leave you with that. Peace.